Check, check, check. 1, 2. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to the Jack Kerouac Open Mic 37th Annual. The longest running open mic in Lowell. Yes. Okay, thanks for coming everyone. We appreciate having you. This is the open mic where you get to have your say now. You've been listening to a lot of speakers speak about their ideas and their connections and all of this stuff, and now it's your opportunity to tell us about why you're into Kerouac or what purpose you have being here. And we want to hear all of it, but we want to hear a little bit of it. Okay, how many people do we have, Cliff?
20.
We have 20 readers, okay? That is quite a long open mic if everyone is going over 8 minutes, okay? 8 minutes is a long time, okay? So please, if you're a poet, keep it to 1 to 2 poems, your best, okay? And if you're a storyteller, please keep it under 8 minutes. If you do not, you will hear this.
Yes.
Understood?
Yes.
If you do not follow this, you will be thrown out the window.
It's the reason we're on the second floor.
Yes, that's why we're on the second floor. As well, please, shh. I am going to shush you because this is not a music open mic per se. There will be some music. But this is a spoken word open mic. And what I would like is respect, okay? When people are talking, they're expressing themselves. Your conversation can wait the hell downstairs and go into the alley when you're smoking a cigarette, okay? This is a time for listening, okay? It's also a time to realize that the temperature is very high right now, okay? And I know that people want to express themselves politically, but we would gratefully respect you keep it minimal, okay? Please. We don't want anybody aggravated here. This is about community and connection. We don't want people fired up at each other, okay? So, if you're thinking about doing something like this, okay, maybe tone it down a little, okay? Okay. Do we understand?
Yes.
Say yes, Dan.
Yes.
Say I love you, Dan.
I love you, Dan.
Look good, I like to hear that. I don't hear that very often. Okay, so, again, my name is Dan Bacon. I am the host. I've been a part of Lowell Celebrate Kerouac for a long time, and we're going to get this thing kicked off. I'm going to start with a poem, and then I'm going to introduce our featured performer this evening. This is called At Least He Wrote. He wrote a play about a gray day in May. He wrote the second act, an epitaph on her behalf. He wrote a musical as big as Hamilton about how she shot him in the heart and then again in the abdomen. He wrote a long song about how love moved along, and then a symphony that vividly, dizzily sings his loss in the trilogy. He wrote prose on scrolls and scenes on screens and bottled notes he set afloat about now being a libertine. He wrote strips and sketches, a few fiery speeches, and descriptions in his diaries that became his autobiography. He wrote a lyrical history, an empirical serial on the back of a bus seat. He wrote articles on particles and essays on faith, love letters to goddesses and an odyssey of fate. He wrote verses and curses about the clockwork universes, but guesses his message is lost somewhere in that wreckage. He wrote a poem that showed him how much the universe owed him, but wrote it knowing his crowing was just his soul overflowing. He wrote it knowing his crowing was just his soul overflowing, but the writer there inside him keeps going and going, and the writing there beside him keeps growing and growing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do I have Matt card? Do I have a card for Matt?
No.
Matt, okay.
I don't know where that is.
Okay, well, Matt Miller You did not give me a bio card. So, I'm gonna do it for you. Here we go. Coming in at 6'3", 210 pounds. Handsome man. A Lowell native. I can't read this. I do not have my glasses. Thank you very much. He's a local writer. He's been performing for a long time. He is a friend of Lowell Celebrates Kerouac. He's our featured performer this evening. Please give a warm welcome for Matt Miller.
I'm not sure which mic to stand at. This is confusing. Thank you all. Thank you LCK for having me. My old buddy Mike Flynn for setting this up. His mom's here, which is awesome. I played Little League with Mike, and we've known each other forever. I think I was thinking about my first LCK was about 29 years ago. It was the first fall that I couldn't play football. I was a college football player and I got hurt. And a friend of mine, Dave Robinson, dragged me to some readings. I had never even heard of a poetry reading. And he was up there doing an open mic, and I was terrified. I just started writing poetry again, and I was like, how do you get up there and do that? And it's amazing, and I started to do a little bit. Now I got poems, and I write them, and I love going to readings, and I love being part of these open mics. And I wrote this book called Tender of the River. It came out a few years ago, and it's about Lowell. It's about the Merrimack Valley, and it's sort of my experience here. And 29 years ago, I didn't need these, but I'm going to put these glasses on. Yes, this book is very much about this area and the history of the area. And this first poem I'm going to read is about the poet, the old poet, going back to the river, trying to get some inspiration. And it's called Invocation at the Merrimack. And now I take a tongue into your mud, into your syringe and soda bottle banks, to beg your braided silk, your Pennacook equay, your sliding tar of snake, your mouth of stones, your clavicle of royal and moan, your lover ghost thrown from Pawtucket Falls, your whitewater of bread and roses, your creek of locks and lists, your leap from burning windows, your fished out crib of salmon and shiv of shell casings and shad, alewife and boosted tires, your cradle of flywheel, of factory, your mill girl offering, your doffers, your biddies, your boom and your busted. Penitent palmed, I stand in this, your sun-tussling dawn to call a song. My river, roll your blue-black big hips under the oxidized iron of cantilever and cable, deluged in slip bridge ribs and sing between the red brick and brackish heft of textile mills turned art galleries with crack alleys. You, bender of flashboard pins, come, sing to me, sluice me, double back and seduce me to your flood. Tenor me down to your Irish blood canals, your Greek restaurant ghettos, fluorescent Cambodian groceries, chunk-keeled Brazilian bakeries. Your cobblestones exposed to sell some roomy history. Bones old and broken of flesh, in sack and ash, I call a song. You ferried me home. Now drink and spit me out where City Hall is crouched in downtown's diverticula. Down to the fountain at JFK Plaza where my brother was suckered by a kid I wouldn't hit back. And there, just one of 10 police stations, Poland Library, and across Arcan Ave, Lowell High, its field house named after my grandfather.
Yeah.
The calm Masonic temple, the bring your own wine via tie, and bars and bars and bars.
Yeah.
One for every St. Anne's, Immaculate, and St. Patrick's. And your hydraulic drop prayers are tossed like toast of tilted pints. There, here, my palms unfold. Give me willow to me against my flooded nights, against my broken rights. So you flow down and roll stones, old river, and moor me here for what I am not. Wake my song and pluck me to your pulse. I'll stay down in your valley, drink your ink of water and dream myself back into you. Make me small again. Roll me in your lap, your mud, your moonlit blood. Supplicated by the greasy vents of a train car diner, I beg your lip of water to whisper. That's sort of a stream of consciousness poem about trying to figure out the different points of my life, West Coast, East Coast, in the middle there. And it's just called Autobiography, and it just kind of rolls along.
Verse 5.
Autobiography. For a moment, I was a failed skip of stone, sunk into the river. For a moment, I was the river, purling in long last shadows of September. For a moment, I was a skinny grizzly, spitting into a beer can. For a time, I was Christmas lights, wrapping around downtown smokestack, until it became a book filled with baby teeth. For a while, I was a boy, painting the portrait of a queen. For a while, I was a child queen. For a while, I knew the switches to every light, knew the angles of every kiss in the autumn night, and shaped morning by the curve of her hips. For a while, I spelled the difference between church and lips. For a while, I was young. For a while, I was son. For a while, I was father for a million reasons not to pray. For a while, God begged me for apology. For a while, I was an apology walking the edge of the dam. For a while, I was dust on the floor of a cotton mill, swept by a broom out into summer. For a while, I was summer until liver-spotted clouds blew over the dunes to fling the monarchs into Mexico. For a while, I was oil mill, fir and yucca tree. After all sap ran desert west, after sugar, maple, elm, and pine, for a moment there, I had made up my mind to be worm for the plover. For a second, I believed I was enough vessel for my children. For night, my wife was able to rest on our blade of stars. For one moon, the sea could trade us for the sun. For one dawn, we filched the horizon. So, gotta read, Kerouac, football player. I played football. My grandfather knew Kerouac. My grandfather played for the Green Bay Packers, and they would trade letters and stuff. And but I have a football sort of related poem. And this is about 11 years ago. This happened. A guy I played ball with in high school. He was a police officer in Lowell, and many might know him. I'm not going to throw his name out there without his permission, but. He got a car accident one night coming home. He had some issues with alcohol and drugs, and he killed a person. And he was a police officer who killed a person, which is a lot. But he's, at heart, he was this good person. He'd done a bad thing. And I wrote this poem to we can't be the sum of our just one bad day or a couple bad days. There's more to our lives than that. And but also around this time, it was just after The Fighter had been filmed in Lowell. You guys know Mickey Ward?
Yeah.
A lot of people know Mickey Ward. This will come up later. And so he was in this movie. This friend of mine, he played his father, who was a cop in Lowell during the '80s, and so he got to, as a cameo, he played his father a little bit. And so I don't know, I thought that was interesting. And I just wanted this poem. It's called "Real Life" for EW. In The Fighter, Wahlberg plays a welterweight from Lowell named Mickey Ward, and Mickey one night, sticking up for his crackhead half-brother Dickie, played by Christian Bale, gets his right hand busted by the cops, just like in real life. In the film, one of the cops is played by the real-life son of one of the cops, and he was, for a time, a cop in Lowell. I played football with him in high school. I could still see him all alone in the end zone after our tunnel vision QB threw it to me again on a tight end drag for a short yard gain. It was great to see him play his dad, though I heard there were issues between them, and then to see him grin into the camera during those closing credit shots of the town and people. Hollywood had come to us to find a hero. And though I never met Mickey, I saw him once at the gym. A few years later, well after the cameras tided out of town, after Bale had made his Oscar speech, Dickie got popped again for stealing and dealing, and the cop I played ball with drove home one night, so ripped he's never saw the SUV as he veered across Route 110 in Methuen. A man named Brian Paula died instantly. The cop, the boy I knew, was arrested. He wept in court, asked to be punished, and went to jail. And none of this has anything to do with the movies, except that maybe everything has to do with the movies. As we run alone into an October end zone, arms flailing, hoping someone will see that we are more than our falling action, more than this soft light flickering against the dark.
Yeah.
Speaking of, this is the end of baseball season just about, so I'm going to write a little baseball poem here, but it's about boys in June. It's called Boys Beyond June. My brother and I played Little League with a guy named Marcus Goodwin whose life didn't go the same way, didn't have the same opportunities we did because of circumstances of birth. And so I wrote this poem about him because he was such a good ball player. Boys Beyond June. My brother and I played Little League with Marcus, and oh shit, that kid could hit. He just lights out at short. I mean, he balled and ran as mad as Winter River, so when 10 years later, he walks into the packy where we're buying bourbon and a sleeve dip, and see the staples holding together his cornrowed skull, we ask him and he laughs, saying the dude or this girl that he was banging whacked him from behind with a machete when he was walking out of a house party. And from the way he tells us, Marcus seems to feel that this was the worst part, like a move like that was rude or something, like to jump out from the bushes behind porch steps was straight up punk. And now the part in my hair is forever fucked. He says this, and then he pays for his case of beast, and then we all bullshit our see you soons. And my brother and I walk out the door, onto the busted concrete lot across from the auto body shop, and see the lights leaking out from mini blinds and multifamily homes lining Concord Street. And we shake our heads and try to laugh the way that Marcus always laughed, staring down Brad Pacheco, pitching him chin music, with bases jacked, and all the dust, the sudden dusk, and all our summer still ahead of us. I'm going to read this one last poem. It's a little bit of a longer poem. It's kind of a sonnet sequence. In non-traditional sonnet form, but the last line of each part becomes the first line of the next part. But the poem's called the Hexamera, which is a Genesis story. And every day of the week in this poem is a part of the history of the Merrimack Valley. I try to make it and just keeps jumping through history, starting with the Laurentide ice sheet that pulled back to reveal this area, ending with the 21st century and through the Middle Girls, Indigenous people. So it's a little bit longer piece, but I'm going to wrap it up with this, because this is kind of my love song, poem to Lowell and to the Merrimack Valley. River Valley, Hexamera, Lune, Monday. What happened was, Laurentide ice ripped back like lightning, dragged its ass north, tearing from stone, stitching lenticular hills of till, birthing drumlin after drumlin, calving kettle ponds, and vining eskers across the earth like roid rope veins. And then came water, shaking off its shaggy frieze, bursting for the sea again, and the river, our river, rolling down from white mountains, got bent against granite and turned a hard tangle toward the east to reach the rip and tide, and up and down its banks with birch and ash and wolf and bee, because sunlight lit upon the gulping dirt, at last all funk and fecund, and by first evening, first tribes moved their breath upon the shore, called the water Merrimack, sang its strong place. Martes, Tuesday, called the water Merrimack, sang its strong place, and in the spring, when herring and sturgeon returned, when salmon walked up waterfalls, they Pennacook, they Wamasett, they Narragansett, and Muskegon, and Pawtucket, left grudge and axe in the grass and dove for the catch. They drank in Bosbekag, they sang of Taba. They tracked spring deer from dawn through late summer, harvested the fall for winter, and spoke of pale men hailing down with their sideways sick and fire sticks. And Sagamore Passaconaway saw when their boats first landed, and now old, he tells his people they must bend against the storm, that the wind blows hard, that the old oak shakes and its branches are gone, and its sap is frozen, it bends, it falls, he says. Peace with the white man is his final command. Mercury, Wednesday. Peace with the white man is his final command, because God is a motherfucker. Hell, we hammered canoes into coffins just by coughing into the river. So by the time we carried our Bibles up the banks, whole villages are empty. But for some bones and soil already sown and pools of jumping shad, and we only had to kick the still seething coals to get our fires going. While our kids played with dolls left behind by other days, and days rolled on, we figured ways to kill the Indian and still stay Puritan. Damn, King Philip practically made us a country, or rallied us rebellious enough to make us dunk a different king. And then came a big-ass canal, from the Merrimack down to the Charles. And water is a will to power, especially when Lowell used that 5-finger discount to build a textile, made us industrial, and planned a town that taps that old Pawtucket ass to power the loom that we let a woman work every day. Lovis. Power of the loom, they'll let me work every day, save the Sabbath, save my soul, and I have to listen to that shataka, 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 shataka machine shuttle through me from dawn to dinner, but debts are due on Father's farm, and really, there is great fun with these women, although the rooms are small and 6 to a bed, but oh, to talk and rest my head upon her warm hip, when the whip of winter snaps the river, when the hours go on forever. as we barter our flesh and hours for $1. Consumption is a factor. Last week a child lost a finger, and yesterday our pay was cut. And now these papists, these French and Irish, even worse, these unhorsed Greeks slip through the brick and take our labor, but really we must all stand together against the way the work and wages worsen. So from toxic dust upon our tongues chant, we want bread and roses too. Venerous. Upon rough tongues, the shout for bread and roses too spreads up and down the river from Lawrence to all the valley. So every weaver, tubercular fevered and hung with hunger, stood in bullets bare-toed the winter. Even as mill boss cops beat down mothers, until at last the strikers got what they wanted. If only for a while, because then the IWW moved us all to hotter headlines. And the bosses rolled us away, then the war, and even more of them took jobs south, and suddenly this town was down like too many others. Looked like the Kaiser bombed us back to brick and cobble. So before the bust, we were already busted. Even when another German phalanx of fuckery was only faintly felt. By the 50s, we were riding gridiron gods, Riddick and Plomeratus, even a back named Kerouac, just to have something to cheer for in damp November. Sadorini. Just to have something to cheer for in damp November of a city ain't no small thing. When the new jobs come, we make a run of making it work, but Wang flared out and gangs rolled in like the TRG and Latin Kings and new tribes fishing for the American scene, Brazilian, Puerto Rican, and Cambodian, but still too many got lost on no jobs or dope. But there was crack you couldn't smoke, a light in which the city woke that it was what a valley could be, where art and history might be milled into handmaidens of hope. So a celebration of self sort of slipped in along that flood of Oxycontin. But that something sure ain't nothing. And the river's cleaner than it's ever been for years. The hawk and heron are returning, and even Hollywood shut up for Mickey. For real, could a town and river ever be more like Ward vs. Gotti? Solus. Could a town and river ever be more Ward vs. Gotti? The way they pounded, the way they danced, they hugged us into Sunday rope of dope breast to look upon the mess we made along our way. To love or money, and too many bodies rolled over those falls, and too much of earth that cannot be called back. But maybe there's time here for breath and prayer, to name what's holy there and there, before the burn of us is snuffed. And perhaps there's no foot upon the treadle, no fingers at the loom, just a random warp and weft, before a doom unto which we will not know we moved. And all the beauty of seeing beauty will be tuned, all sorrow for sins gone, as dark as the sunless moon. But I am Nightshade, and I love the luster that comes last. In the lightning way, the ice rips back. Thank you so much for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Miller, thank you so much. One must remember that Lowell was featured on High on Crack Street, right? In the 1990s, and there was 25% unemployment in Lowell at one point, okay? So there's been a big revival here, okay? Let's appreciate Lowell and let's appreciate the Worthen. Okay, listen, I have a few announcements. Number one, if you want to get out of here, if you want to get out of here, you got to go up through the back door, okay? The front door is locked. There's nobody coming up that way. You got to go out this way, okay? Also, don't be cheap. Tip your servers, okay? Please tip your servers. They're working hard for you. Don't be cheap. Okay, next, let's get this thing going, okay? First up to the mic, we have poet from Sanford, Maine. She is the Beat Poet Laureate of Maine, poet Claire Conroy.
Thank you, Dan. I'm just going to be one and done because there's a big list. I do live in Sanford, Maine. I am the Beat Poet Laureate of Maine, and I'm also a proud board member of the Portsmouth Poet Laureate program and host of their open mic, The Hoot, and Painting Poetry. I have for you tonight The Fugitive Kind, a movie from 1960, screenplay by Tennessee Williams. This is a brief scene caught at the Wisteria Hills Cemetery. 1. Joanne Woodward is with Marlon Brando when they pull up to a cemetery. Top stuck open in the convertible, oblivious to driving through the rain, because the rain stopped before they pulled in. The Wisteria Hill Cemetery. You live around here? Yes. Nobody lives round here. This is the local bone orchard. With that, she smiles, turns, and walks through the gate. He follows her past the gate, down the path. They walk through the shadows of trees and night. The mood is heavy with a boozy haze. She walks to an obelisk. He passes to a tall grave. She saunters up and leans. 2. Moving mist is caught in streams of moonlight. She says, "You hear the dead people talking?" That's when he looks her in the eyes and says, "Dead people don't talk." Breaks the gaze and turns, his face an imperceivable grin. She then slides down the face of the tombstone. On her knees, she stares at his zipper. "Sure they do," she says with a sad sexiness. "They chatter away like birds up here on Wisteria Hill. But all they can say is live." And she sighs, "Live, live, live, live." That's all that they know. The only advice they can give. It's simple, very simple instructions. She reaches for his zipper. 3. He grabs her hands, then takes her by the wrist. She begs for release. "Please, let me, let me." Kneeling down and looking into her eyes with a rage her passion had inspired. "Who are you trying to fool besides yourself? What is this? A human wrist with a bone?" His anger gave a mean twist to her arm. Feels like a twig. Speaking through tightened jaw, he snarled, "I could snap it with 2 fingers. Little girl," scolded. "A man holding himself against you would break you like a bundle of sticks. Let's go." And he walks away to the car. Lights come on. She's still kneeling, contemplating death. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Claire Conroy. Thank you, Claire. Go pick up Dave. Okay, next we have, this is interesting because usually when someone puts where they're from instead of their last name, it's a little sketchy, like Mickey from Jersey, right? It says Mickey from Vermont, so I'm wondering what this guy's like. All right, here we go. Mickey from Vermont. He read On the Road at 14, read Memory Babe from the library and copied down all the titles in order and then read them in that order and supposedly changed his life. Good. Please, to the microphone, Mickey from Vermont. Let's go, keep clubbing, come on. Hey,
thank you.
there you go.
I am from Vermont, and I wrote down all the books that Kerouac read. It opened up a lineage for me of writing and poetry, so I am going to play guitar if that's all right. I'll be quick, and if I go over my age, just give me a... And so hopefully you do hear the... Thanks. I got it. So hopefully you do hear the poetry in this. You can hear those church bells ringing across the countryside. You can hear those talkers, yeah, they were talking until a little experiment. I taught a beat class up in Burlington College, Vermont for about 15 years, and the thing about all the beats was they were interested in form and they were interested in that writing lineage, and a lot of the kids picked up on that, and it was powerful. So Allen Ginsberg had that thing with the long breath line. This come to me in a dream, and I used to have a map, and I dreamed about going out west and going to Omaha, Nebraska and stuff. And I had a dream with 2 words were in it called Fatal Wind. So I woke up and it was like an Idiot Wind song I think Bob Dylan was riffing on, the long line from Allen Ginsberg, Walt Whitman. That's well, they say in times of darkness there is a light within. Well, I was standing outside your father's house where a mansion once had been. Well, I went to the fortune teller. I said, when did this begin? She went and drew the curtains down on the fatal wind. So if you want to try it, it goes like this. Fatal wind, fatal wind. She went and drew the curtains down on the fatal wind. Well, I got back on the trail and I was dead for lack of sleep. But my horse was fine and limber till the blackness took his feet. Well, I was lost like the buffalo. The sound of thunder was a distant din. I hung my head and I cried into the fatal wind. I'll try to go like this. Fatal wind, fatal wind. Well, I hung my head and I cried into the fatal wind. Well, the sheriff and the banker, they only do it for an honest day's pay. Then you wonder how they sleep at night. You gotta turn the other way. Well, there was Cain and Abel. One of them was an evil twin. I'll let you cast the first stone into the fatal wind. Fatal wind, fatal wind. I'll let you cast the first stone. You alone who are free from sin. Well, then maybe you and I can talk a little while about hunger, pain, and greed. All your life you pick a bale of cotton while the good earth goes to seed. Well, how can so many good lose when just a few bad ones win? They say the children are gonna pay the price for the wages of your sin. Fatal wind, fatal wind. They say the children are gonna pay the price for the wages of your sin. Well, I walked back into town with my stovepipe hat kicked in. I was guilty until proved innocent. I heard that they notified my next of kin. Well, out came the judge in his black robes. He said, let's begin. But by the time that gavel come on down, I was gone with the fatal wind. Thank you. I'm Jack Kerouac. Everybody here, I know you know that lineage.
Everybody, Mickey from Vermont. Okay, coming on up next. Listen, guys, remember we have 20 people on the list. 22. Like we're pushing the time here. Okay, I'm telling you, we're pushing it. Okay, please keep it to one or two of your best, and let's give it your all, okay? Here we go. Next, coming up to the mic, she is a poet, singer, songwriter, published in numerous anthologies, poems about travel, nature, and life's journey. Please welcome to the microphone, Angela Michelle Lee.
Thank you, Dan. Mountain Ridge Woman Dawning. Alarm in my head. Wake up. Pulling curtains open. Night. Total darkness. Witnessed from our balcony. Faint distinction of night sky with mountain ridge emerging. Sunrise. Faint color of pink upon gray growing. Cloud painted whiffs of light ever so gentle. Blue touching mountain curves. Sky making love to mountain peaking. Star of Venus approving. Facing due east, dawn progresses. Meditating upon autumn foliage of oranges, reds, yellows, coming into focus. Mist movement over lake. Indian head, facial featuring. Appears. Abenaki, still presiding. Overtones, rattle, chant, drum tone. Polishing, painting purple into downward mountain curves. Cloud strokes, whiff, brightening, delicate, orange red touches. Lake, mirroring, magenta, gold. And the evergreens, tree bodies reflecting upon stillness of water below. Whooshing, traveling mist. Chilly morning, first day of autumn. White mountains, greetings, Indian head. Mountain Ridge woman dawning. Thank you.
Yeah.
And this is a poem. I've done a lot of traveling, fortunately, blessed. And one of the places I love to go is India. And this is a poem about our first arrival in India back in 2008. India arrival. Visa stamped, exiting Mumbai airport. We are faced with a crowd, hundreds waiting, scouring their faces, searching for a man holding a sign, Michele, Zampino, our life jacket. Magically, he comes forward, whisking us off to Hotel Farajas. 18 hours of flying, exhausted. Dan showers in cold water, unable to decipher the direction of warmth. He leaves plastic covering on the soap. It is morning now. Virgin glance of the Arabian Sea, rooftop deck. Blackbirds take sips from a cut-off pipe. Water flows into a clay pot. I'm crowing in their chorus, having escaped the winter bite. Shiva has risen. I am touched by the Indian sun. Wearing a green stained spaghetti strap travel blouse, my toes, two of which are still painted gold, dip into the inviting bath. Below, carts, wheeling, shouts of merchants selling newspapers, tea, coffee. We are summoned to the streets in search of an ATM. A woman along the way gives me a tika, red dot of powder on my forehead, the third eye point. I receive the blessing with joy. She says, for free, welcome. We pass the Shiva Museum, once the Prince of Wales Museum. I am drawn to an artist. He paints a flute playing Krishna. as Radha, Hindu Mother Mary, balances a gold vessel on her head, filled with holy water. Gathered from the Ganges River, I hand him 450 rupees, $12 for both, and roll them carefully to tote. Dan scorns me. We'll have to carry these for the whole trip. I envision Krishna and Radha framed. Power thought. Meditate on this image. Visualization. Prompting. Transporting me back to India even now. My first day in India, and already I want to return. Om Shiva. Om Shiva. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Angela Michelle. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Thank you. Next to the mic, we have a poet, writer, sculptor, and lawyer. Do you know the difference between a lawyer and a bag of shit? The bag. There we go. Up to the mic, Daniel Zampini.
The lawyer is the garbage man. And I can tell you firsthand about that. Anyway, I am going to do a poem about, tomorrow is the 12th of October, known as Columbus Day and Indigenous Day. So this will combine the two. This is I'm only going to do one poem. And this is a poem I wrote overlooking Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock is a very interesting place because people go there to commemorate the event of the Pilgrims coming to the New World. And above the Plymouth Rock, if you sit above it, you see a statue of Massasoit. Now Massasoit was the person who more or less brokered the Pilgrims' survival in the first 2 or 3 years of Plymouth. His son, Metacomet, also known as Philip, wound up fighting a rearguard war against the Pilgrims' descendants, which became the first battle between Anglo settlers and Indians that turned into a genocide. And below Massasoit's statue is a small plaque that reads, "We are children of a genocide." So I took the two images and combined them because I was overlooking, on the hillside overlooking Plymouth Rock. So my wife Angela is going to accompany me on this. The sky over Plymouth is pale blue, as a cloud trail above is bashful. Boats litter the harbor as young teenage boys skateboard the monuments camouflaging the Mayflower dead. They have no idea what lies beneath their twirls and spins, a place like no other. It was here where John Bradford startled with his speech-making, convincing his band of destitute settlers their deprivation had divined them for greatness. Liberty of worship he sold to the world. But what else could he think? Alive, even if barely, and proud, as the firmament of God's verdant smile solidified their undeserved destiny. Bradford proclaimed a beacon of righteousness for all the world to know. Liberty's invocation, each time it is sung, relives this moment. It is a lazy harbor in September. There are patchy lawns as a temple of concrete columns resembling a miniature Parthenon straddles the rock where the first governor orated his divinity. Breezes ripple, swaying simple trees, people convening, aghast at times that their eyes outraged that it's only a rock that they see. Where imagination had delusioned topography into a debilitating latitude. making them disappointed they are not seeing an American Gibraltar. On the hillside overlooking the sleepy September harbor and alongside the burial tribute to the Pilgrims' first fallen, on the hillside where the Mayflower's victims are resting, a statue of Massasoit glares. His facial visage is a kindly native glance. So the history books tell us. Granted, Bradford's delegation from September's sweet seduction, a likely November survival. But what must he, the elder Wampanoag chieftain, have thought? Death rippled like a toxic breeze through his people, alongside a stench of unexplained illness that had predated the Pilgrim's entry. Soon he'd be no more, just a statue. But did he know what he knew? Navigators of the floodgates of newcomers who would soon be as common as the stars in heaven. They'd seize everything he'd remember. They'd seize memory itself. Did he foresee how they'd spike his son's severed head atop a tree pole, planted adjacent to the solemn entrance to their anointed government? A government enshrined in the pursuit of the liberty of worship? Yet Metacomet, renamed Philip, the chief's youngest of 7 sons, had challenged their settlers' ambition. But God had given the settlers, so they claimed, this land from sea to shining sea. Bradford's words of warning swept like a toxic summer breeze across a continent, across centuries, compact with God and King, where no man, no civilization, no race shall obstruct what is predestined. War of extermination. Bradford's descendants had imposed on Massasoit's children, beginning with Metacomet, the defeated head having been vested on a stake outside Liberty's arena. Birds would pluck at its face. Children would imagine its dangling stare as the devil's, where he'd be said to invade the infancies of their dreams. But how could Massasoit have known? His generosity would be celebrated by his son's killers in the collision of civilizations. Yet at Massasoit's feet is a plaque that reads, "We are children of a genocide." So Massasoit is wary in his sculptured green bronze glare that cuts through history. Tourists come from afar, reading his words in silence. God smiles on the newcomer's pillage, but for only so long. Justice, like the lazy September breeze, will eventually give way to a winter in America, even if its deliverance is beyond what is beyond. After all, this is still an Indian continent. Tourists seize from the sanctuary of this intersection, where a Wampanoag and Englishman once embarked for a Thanksgiving that will never happen again. Settlers as common as the stars in heaven from the delivered rock had construed their toehold from sea to shining sea, and a mourning, that's with a U, is commenced. On the hillside, I sit overlooking Plymouth Rock. It is September, and in the harbor there is stillness, as in a painting. Somehow, the importance of this place seems remote as a fairy tale. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Everyone, Daniel Zampini. Thank you so much. Okay, let's move right along. Thank you so much. Okay. Next, we have a writer from Lowell. He's arguably the best storyteller in Lowell besides myself. His books are available at lowellwriter.com. Please welcome to the microphone, Stephen O'Connor. Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. It's slow and old, it's okay.
Pity tis true and true tis pity. It should be 7 minutes, I'll get right to it. It's a story called The Guardian. So, The Guardian. The sacred oak was the focal point not only of the sacred grove on the hill of the temple, but the entire island nation of Doraka. The flag bore the dark image of the sacred oak on a field of sea blue. The Polygram, the book that Rambus, the messenger god, had handed to the lords of the sea, commanded that a guardian must live on the hill and protect the nation's tree for as long as he was able. At any time, a challenger might mount the hill and ring Borkill, the great bell, once, and face the guardian in combat. If the challenger won, he would be the new guardian. The guardian was dreaming of his mother. In the heat of a summer afternoon, she lay on a mat to nap. He was a little boy beside her, asking questions that she answered sleepily until she said, "Akron, let me rest a while." He woke thinking, yes, that was my name, Akron. I had nearly forgotten. The priests who bring me food call me guardian. The king, when he visits the temple of Solinar, the sky god, calls me guardian and gives me a gold coin that I've no use for. The prophetess, Worthen, and her virgins all bow their heads and call me guardian when they come to chant round the sacred oak. And I think of myself as guardian, but I was a boy named Akron. He rose and walked to the bucket in the corner of the rude cabin to piss. The sun was creeping over the far lands beyond the straits, and her light spilled over the sea and banished the carpet of fog in the valley of the corn. The image of his mother returned to him, and he recalled that it was now the 3rd day after the festival of Thrinus, the god of the sea. It was his mother's birthday. His father had been proud when he picked up the sword of the challenger, but his mother had cried and begged him to put it down. This plea earned his mother a public rebuke. His father accused her of disgracing the family. The young man knew that she did not believe in the words of the Polygram. He told himself that even if he were to die on the hill of the temple, his name would live forever, inscribed in the hall of the challengers, the bravest and most loyal of the Dorakans. But he did not die. He had rung Borkill boldly and met the guardian. No words were exchanged, no words were necessary. Only once, he recalled, had his courage failed for an instant. The sword of the guardian swung over his head so rapidly that even as he crouched, it struck the crest of his helmet, knocking it to the ground. He leapt back, momentarily dazed, and asked himself, "What are you doing here? What will you die for?" He recalled the pride of his father and banished the foreboding tears of his mother. He recalled his studies of the Polygram and his instructors of combat who assured him that he fought like a true challenger. So he fought on desperately, and his youthful reflexes finally outmatched the guardian's experience. His blade plunged into the guardian's thigh, and the younger man watched him crash to the ground, unable to rise. At last the downed man spoke. "Hail to the guardian," he said. "Finish!" It was easy to believe in the power of courage and the glory of victory in the face of an armed and able opponent, but it was more difficult to believe in the nobility of cutting into a helpless man. His mother's tears then seemed to overtake him, and he understood both sides of her sorrow. He stood motionless and mute. The guardian tore off his helmet, and Akron saw that his hair was gray. "Do you think I did not see this day coming? Do you think I would have hesitated to kill you? What, would you have me hobble away down the hill and live with shame instead of the glory I've earned these long years? Come and make it quick, boy." Still he stood with a pain he had never known twisting his heart. "You're not fit to be guardian," the guardian said. "You're a stain on Doraka and a heretic." He spat. "You're not fit to stand on the hill." The young man's sword flashed. The guardian gasped as it sank into his breast and uttered once more, "Hail to the guardian." His last words. The priest came at sundown to carry the body of the late guardian away, along with the sword of the challenger. and Akron hefted the sword of the guardian and raised his hands to heaven in his glory. As the mists in the valley cleared, the guardian recalled these things, and he thought of the challengers he had killed since then. He had never hesitated nor wept. One day, he had imagined he would wear gray hair and his reflexes would slow, and he would hail the new guardian if he were not dead before he could say the words. It was his mother's birthday. He'd heard that she had died, and he wondered if she had ever been proud of him or only sad. He tried, as he had tried for several days, not to think the bad thoughts, but they would not be repressed. They ate his sleep. What if his mother's tears and not his father's pride had been the truest reaction to the choice he had made? What did it mean to guard a sacred tree? And why was the honor of the country bound to it? The truth was that his own heart told him that his mother was right. The pilgrim was a lie. He admitted to himself at last that he had lived the life of a play actor in a story from a foolish old book, a tale of false prophecies in a tree. How could he go on with this knowledge? The tears were running down his face and into his beard, and as he wiped them, the borkul resounded through the hill of the temple. Out of reflex, he moved toward his arms, his helmet and buckler, but he paused and did not pick them up. He had been Akron. Then he had been the guardian and thought his evolution was complete, but now he was something else. With the acceptance of this realization came a determination that equaled that with which he had mounted the hill of the temple to ring the borkul years ago. The challenger would be nearing the summit of the hill soon. Could he explain to him that he did not want to kill him, nor did he want to die, that it was all stupidity? No, the challenger's mind would be full of the lies of his teachers and of the darkness of the pilgrim and the glory of Daraka. The guardian recalled his mother in the dream. Let me rest a while. Yes, he needed rest, not here as a killer on a hill waiting for the bell of murder, and not immured in the lightless crypt of the guardians, but in the world of the living, concerned with the things of the living, on a ship's deck under billowing sails on the outbound tide. He threw a cloak over his shoulders and walked toward the crest of the hill. A man with a drawn sword was taking the final steps on the stairs from the borkul to the flat top of the sacred grove. Who are you? Are you the guardian? He asked. Where is your sword? His voice was that of a young man, but he wore a helmet with cheek plates down and a silver breastplate. Me? Heavens, no. I'm a physician and a priest of the temple. The guardian is taken ill and is confined to his bed, sweating and delirious and shouting the vilest heresies. The challenger took a step backward as if buffeted by the unheard heresies. Heresies? From the guardian of all people? What does he say? If I tell you, you must not repeat it. I would not wish to repeat heresies, nor would any guardian. Only he's delirious, you say. He is indeed. He says, Master Challenger, that the sacred oak is just an old tree. What? In the name of Solinar, is he mad? Very likely, I'm afraid. He says the pilgrim is a foul old book, that the tradition of the guardian is stupid, the king is stupid, the prophetess is an old whore, and her virgins hate her. Moreover, he says the Durakans are superstitious fools who pray to absurd idols. He's raging mad. Blames priests and teachers for making a killer out of him. The challenger sheathed his sword. I've never heard the like of it. Nor I, challenger, nor I. And he said to me last night, eyes all agog and sweating like a harvester, he said, the only reason you should ever kill a man is to protect yourself or those you love, or to repel an invader who would enslave you. Sacred tree and pilgrim nonsense are for blockheads. The challenger was silent for a moment. He removed his helmet. A handsome man, the guardian thought, young, would have been a pity to take his life. Finally, the challenger let out a sigh that may have held a tinge of relief and said, he is far gone then. It would seem so. It's a sign. The gods did not want you to be guardian. Solinar has other plans for you. The challenger turned and began the descent. The priest would come at sundown to look for a body. The guardian returned to his cabin and wrapped some bread and cheese, filled a goatskin with water, stuffed the purse with the king's coins under his jerkin, and struck out on the eastern path down the hill of the temple and through the valley of the corn toward the harbor, where he would board a ship for the summer isles. And when the captain asked his name, he would tell him, Akron. My name is Akron. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen O'Connor.